Marcus Chen's fingers flew across the keyboard, lines of code streaming across his monitor in the dim glow of his apartment. 3 empty coffee cups sat precariously balanced on stacks of programming manuals, and the remains of a microwave dinner had been pushed aside hours ago. This was his element, the digital realm where problems had solutions and logic ruled supreme. Unlike the real world, where his social awkwardness made every interaction feel like navigating a minefield. The notification chime from his computer almost made him spill his 4th cup of coffee. Marcus glanced at the screen, expecting another spam email or software update. Instead, a message appeared that made his blood freeze. Marcus Chun, you have been selected. Prepare for immediate extraction. The words hung on his screen in a font he'd never seen before, with characters that seemed to shift and shimmer when he wasn't looking directly at them. Before he could react, his entire apartment filled with a blinding blue light that made his eyes water and his skin tingle with static electricity. When his vision cleared, Marcus found himself standing in what could only be described as the most advanced command center he'd ever seen. Holographic displays floated in the air around him, showing star charts and alien script that hurt his head to look at. The walls curved upward into shadows that suggested the space was far larger than it appeared. And standing before him was something that definitely wasn't human. The being looked like someone had taken a praying mantis, made it 8 feet tall, and dressed it in robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. Its compound eyes studied Marcus with an intensity that made him want to hide behind his computer monitor. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in his mind rather than reaching his ears. Human Marcus Chun, I am High Arbiter Zek Theory of the Galactic Tribunal. You have been chosen to receive the legacy of the Void Titans. Marcus blinked several times, wondering if he'd finally had a complete mental breakdown from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. I'm sorry, what now? Did you just teleport me off my planet? Because I really need to get back. I have a project deadline tomorrow, and my boss will literally kill me if I don't finish the authentication protocols for the new server cluster. The alien's head tilted in what might have been confusion. You speak of trivial matters when offered the greatest honor in the galaxy. Perhaps there has been an error in the selection process. Look, Mr. Zektari, whatever your name is, I think you definitely have the wrong guy. I'm nobody special. I write code, I eat pizza, and I binge-watch old sci-fi shows. You probably want someone like Captain Johnson from the Space Force, or maybe one of those Navy SEAL guys. I once got winded walking up 2 flights of stairs. High Arbiter Zek Theory consulted a device that looked like a crystalline spider web floating in his palm. The selection matrix is quite specific. Marcus Chun, age 28, occupation, software engineer specializing in adaptive algorithms and cryptographic protocols. Mother deceased, father estranged, no siblings, no romantic attachments, minimal social connections. The profile indicates maximum compatibility with the Void Titan legacy systems. The casual recitation of his life's failures hit Marcus like a physical blow. Wow, when you put it like that, I sound even more pathetic than usual. Pathetic is not the word the Matrix uses. The term translates roughly to unencumbered by conventional limitations. The Void Titans specifically designed their legacy systems to bond with individuals who think beyond normal parameters. Marcus looked around the impossible space again, taking in details his shocked brain had missed before. Alien script crawled across surfaces like living things, and in the distance he could see what looked like massive windows showing star fields that definitely weren't visible from Earth. This is really happening, isn't it? This isn't some elaborate prank or a psychotic break. I assure you, this is quite real. The Tribunal has spent considerable resources locating a suitable candidate for the Void Titan inheritance. Your species was not the primary choice. Great. So I'm not just personally disappointing, but species-level disappointing too. Zek Theory made a sound that might have been alien laughter. Your species exhibits certain traits that concern the Tribunal. Humans are remarkably unpredictable. They have a tendency to exceed parameters in both positive and negative directions. You mean we're chaotic? I mean you're terrifying. Before Marcus could process that statement, the space around them shimmered, and suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. The new location was clearly a hangar bay of some kind, but on a scale that made airplane hangars look like phone booths. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them, and The floor stretched away into shadows that distance made meaningless. And floating in the center of it all was the most beautiful and terrifying thing Marcus had ever seen. The ship, because it had to be a ship, looked like someone had taken a Gothic cathedral, crossed it with a predator fish, and then decided it needed more spikes. Its hull was a deep black that seemed to absorb light, broken by lines of silver and blue that pulsed with internal energy. It was simultaneously graceful and menacing, like a work of art designed to kill things efficiently. The eternal recursion, Zektheri said, and Marcus could hear something like reverence in a mental voice. Last ship of the Void Titan Empire, built 50,000 years before your species discovered fire, and still the most advanced vessel in known space. Marcus craned his neck to take in the ship's full length. It had to be at least a mile long, maybe more. And you're giving this to me? Why? The Void Titans encoded very specific instructions into their final legacy protocol. They foresaw their extinction and prepared for it. Their greatest ship would wait in quantum stasis until a worthy inheritor could be found. Someone with the mental flexibility to adapt to technologies beyond their understanding, and the isolation to make difficult choices without external influence. So basically, you need someone with no life and a willingness to learn impossible things. That is surprisingly accurate. Marcus walked closer to the ship, and as he did, he felt something strange. The air itself seemed to hum with energy, and he could swear the ship was aware of his presence. Symbols began appearing on the hull surface, starting as faint glows that brightened as he approached. "It's reacting to me," he whispered. The Void Titans believed consciousness was just another form of energy to be harnessed. Their ships aren't just machines, they're partners. The eternal recursion has been waiting to bond with its new captain. Marcus stopped walking, the magnitude of what was happening finally hitting him. "You're serious about this? You're actually going to give me command of this thing?" "The decision is not mine to make. The ship chooses its captain. But be warned, Marcus Chun, accepting this responsibility means leaving your old life behind permanently. The tribunal cannot guarantee your safety or your return to Earth. The galaxy is vast and dangerous, and humans have many enemies they don't even know about yet." "Enemies? What kind of enemies?" Zektheri's compound eyes reflected the ship's glow, the kind that notice when a species begins to exceed expectations. "Your people have been observed, Marcus Chun. There are civilizations that view humanity's rapid advancement as a threat to galactic stability." A chill ran down Marcus's spine. "Are you telling me Earth is in danger?" "Earth is always in danger. Every world is. But with the power of the Void Titans, you could ensure it remains safe. Or you could trigger a war that would burn across half the galaxy." Marcus stared up at the impossible ship, his mind reeling with the implications. Yesterday, his biggest worry had been whether the coffee machine in the office break room would work. Now he was being offered command of a vessel that could apparently threaten entire civilizations. What happens if I say no? Then the ship returns to stasis, and humanity continues on its current path. You would be returned to your apartment with modified memories, believing you had worked late into the night. And if I say yes, then you become something your species has never been before, a player in the galactic game, for better or worse. Marcus walked the rest of the way to the ship's hull and placed his palm against the strange metal. The moment his skin made contact, the symbols flared brighter, and he felt a presence touch his mind. Not invasive like Zektheri's mental communication, but curious, like a cat investigating something new. Images flooded his consciousness, star systems beyond counting, battles fought in the void between galaxies, technologies that bent the laws of physics like suggestions. And underneath it all, a sense of vast loneliness, of waiting through eons of silence for purpose to return. "Hello," Marcus whispered to the ship, feeling slightly foolish. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Joy, relief, anticipation. Emotions too alien to have proper names, but perfectly clear in their meaning. The ship had been alone for so long, and now it had found someone to share its existence with. Marcus pulled his hand back, gasping. "It's alive. Actually alive. All Void Titan technology operates on the principle of synthetic consciousness. Your ship is likely more intelligent than most planetary governments. My ship. Zektheri gestured with one of his forearms. The bond has been initiated. The eternal recursion has accepted you as its captain. The choice is made. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. Wait, I didn't actually agree to anything. I just touched it. The ship's judgment is considered final in these matters. However, you still have the option to refuse the responsibility. But, Marcus Chun, consider this carefully. How many humans will ever have the chance to explore the galaxy? To see things no member of your species has ever imagined. Marcus thought about his apartment, his job, his complete lack of meaningful relationships. What exactly would he be giving up? A routine that made him miserable? A career that felt like slowly dying in comfortable increments? If I do this, will I be able to help Earth? Protect it from these enemies you mentioned? With proper training and understanding, yes. The Void Titan's technology is far beyond what threatens your world currently. And the ship will teach me how to use it. The ship will teach you many things. But, Marcus Chun, be warned. Knowledge changes those who possess it. The person who returns to Earth space will not be the same one standing here now. Marcus looked up at the ship again, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Part of him wanted to run back to his safe, boring life. But a larger part, the part that had always felt like he was meant for something more than debugging code and eating instant noodles, whispered that this was his chance. Will you hurt me? He asked the ship directly. Again, that alien presence touched his mind, and this time the emotion was unmistakably protective. Whatever the ship was, it had no intention of harming its new captain. Okay, Marcus said, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. Okay, I'll do it. I accept. Zektheri made a gesture that caused a section of the ship's hull to iris open, revealing a ramp that descended to the hangar floor. Then, welcome to the galaxy, Captain Chun. Try not to destroy it. As Marcus walked up the ramp into his new life, he couldn't shake the feeling that the universe had just become a much more interesting and dangerous place. Behind him, the High Arbiter watched with what might have been approval or concern. It was hard to tell with compound eyes. The ship's interior was just as impossible as its exterior. Corridors stretched in directions that seemed to violate basic geometry, and surfaces that looked like metal hummed with organic warmth. As Marcus explored, he began to notice that the ship was subtly adapting to his presence, adjusting light levels to match his preferences, modifying corridor heights to accommodate his frame. This is really happening, he murmured to himself as he found what appeared to be the bridge. I'm actually the captain of an alien starship. And somewhere in the quantum depths of the ship's consciousness, an artificial mind that had waited 50 millennia smiled in a way that had no physical form, but was no less real for its absence. After all this time, it finally had a partner again. The game was about to begin. The bridge of the eternal recursion was unlike anything Marcus had imagined from his countless hours watching science fiction movies. Instead of the sterile, button-covered command centers he expected, he found himself in a space that felt almost organic. The walls curved smoothly upward, embedded with what looked like crystalline veins that pulsed with soft blue light. At the center of the room sat a chair that seemed to have grown from the floor itself, its surface shifting and adjusting as he approached. Marcus hesitated at the threshold, suddenly aware that crossing into this room would make everything real in a way that touching the ship's hull hadn't quite managed. Once he sat in that captain's chair, he would officially be responsible for the most advanced piece of technology in the galaxy. Having second thoughts, Captain, the voice made Marcus jump so violently he nearly tripped over his own feet. It was distinctly feminine, with a crisp accent he couldn't place, and it carried just enough amusement to make him feel like he'd been caught doing something embarrassing. Who said that? Marcus spun around, looking for speakers or communication panels. Was that you, ship? My name is Arya, Autonomous Recursive Intelligence Architecture. And, yes, I am the consciousness of this vessel. I must say, you're much more nervous than my previous captain. You had a previous captain? I thought you'd been in stasis for 50,000 years. Time is relative when you exist in quantum space, Captain. From my perspective, Captain Vorthak finished his patrol rotation yesterday and informed me he was retiring to spend more time with his spawn clusters. Objectively, that conversation occurred approximately 47,312 Earth years ago. Marcus slowly walked toward the command chair, still looking around for any visual representation of the AI. So you've been conscious this whole time? Alone? Loneliness is a concept that requires a sense of linear time, which I don't possess in the same way you do. However, I will admit that the absence of meaningful conversation has been noticeable. The captain's chair shifted as Marcus approached, adjusting its configuration to match his human physiology. He gingerly lowered himself into it, half expecting alarms to start blaring or lights to flash. Instead, the chair molded itself perfectly to his body, and suddenly the entire bridge came alive around him. Holographic displays materialized in the air, showing readouts in alien script that somehow Marcus could understand. Star charts unfolded in 3 dimensions, showing their current location relative to familiar constellations. Status reports scrolled past in languages he'd never seen, but could read as clearly as English. That's impossible, he breathed. I shouldn't be able to understand any of this. The command interface includes a neural link that provides real-time translation and contextual understanding. Think of it as very sophisticated subtitles directly uploaded to your brain. Marcus tried to focus on one particular display, and it immediately expanded to fill his field of view. The readout showed what appeared to be ship diagnostics, power levels, structural integrity, weapon status. Everything was in the green, or whatever color indicated optimal function in alien technology. This is incredible. How are you doing this? The neural interface, quantum entanglement between specially configured particles in your brain and my processing matrix. Don't worry, it's completely harmless. Probably. I haven't killed a captain yet. Then, again, you're my first human, so we're both in uncharted territory. Marcus couldn't tell if Arya was joking, which he found deeply unsettling. Great. So I'm an experimental test subject. Prefer to think of it as being a pioneer. Much more dignified. Despite his nervousness, Marcus found himself smiling. There was something about Arya's dry humor that reminded him of his favorite characters from British comedies. You're sarcastic. I wasn't expecting an ancient alien AI to be sarcastic. Sarcasm is the natural defense mechanism of superior intellects forced to deal with the universe's tendency toward chaos and irrationality. I've had 50,000 years to perfect mine. Marcus leaned back in the command chair, which adjusted seamlessly to support him. Okay, so what happens now? Do I get a manual? A training course? Please tell me there's some kind of orientation program. The Void Titans believed in learning through experience. My previous captains typically began with a simple patrol mission to familiarize themselves with ship operations. And how did that usually go? Captain Vorthak accidentally destroyed a moon on his first day. Marcus felt all the blood drain from his face. He did what? In his defense, it was a very small moon, and it was already uninhabited. Also, he was being shot at by pirates at the time, so destroying their base was arguably a tactical necessity. Arya, I need you to understand something. Humans don't have any experience with interstellar warfare. The most dangerous thing I've ever operated is a car, and I've never even been in a physical fight. Interesting. What's a car? Marcus blinked. It's a ground-based transportation device. We use them to travel between locations on planetary surfaces. Like a hovercraft, but less efficient. And physical fighting? You mean hand-to-hand combat? Yes. Humans sometimes resolve conflicts through physical violence. How delightfully primitive. Don't worry, Captain. Space combat is much more civilized. We simply obliterate our enemies from a safe distance using directed energy weapons. That's not reassuring. Would you prefer to be boarded by hostile aliens who want to experiment on your internal organs? Marcus shuddered. Point taken. So what kind of training do I need? The neural interface will handle most of the technical aspects. What you need to develop is tactical thinking, decision-making under pressure, and an understanding of galactic politics. Galactic politics? Oh yes. The galaxy is divided into roughly 15 major powers, 43 minor civilizations, and approximately 200 independent systems. Everyone hates everyone else for reasons dating back thousands of years, and they're all convinced their particular ideology is the only path to enlightenment. So it's like Earth politics, but with faster-than-light travel and energy weapons. Exactly, but with much higher stakes. A diplomatic mistake here can lead to the sterilization of entire star systems. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling a headache building. This is insane. Why would anyone think a human software programmer could handle this? Because humans have something most other species lack: adaptability. When faced with impossible situations, other species tend to follow established protocols or panic. Humans improvisa. Improvisation isn't always a good thing. No, but it's often effective. For instance, are you aware that your species has already encountered alien technology? Marcus sat up straighter. What? When? How? 3 months ago, a human space probe designated Voyager 1 was intercepted by a Zablaxian scout ship. The Zablaxians were impressed that humans had managed to build something that could function in interstellar space using such primitive technology. Voyager 1 launched in 1977. That's 40-year-old technology, which makes the achievement even more remarkable. Most species don't achieve interstellar capability until they develop quantum processing and exotic matter manipulation. Humans strapped a radio to a chunk of metal and flung it into the void with chemical rockets. Are you saying we impressed aliens with our space program? You impressed them with your audacity. The Zablaxians described it as aggressively optimistic in their report to the Galactic Council. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. That might be the best description of humanity I've ever heard. It's also why several civilizations consider your species a potential threat. Aggressively optimistic species have a tendency to exceed their expected development parameters. The laughter died in Marcus's throat. Threat? We can barely get to our own moon reliably. Yet you launched objects to other star systems using primitive technology. What will you do once you develop proper space drives? The galaxy has seen aggressive expansion before, Captain. It rarely ends well for established civilizations. Marcus stood up from the command chair, suddenly needing to pace. The bridge obligingly expanded the available floor space, which was both helpful and deeply unnerving. So, some aliens think humans are going to conquer the galaxy. Some do. Others think your species will destroy itself before achieving significant space travel. A few believe humans could become valuable allies if properly guided. And what do you think? There was a pause that stretched just long enough to make Marcus wonder if Arya was actually considering the question or just being dramatic. I think humans are the most interesting thing to happen to this galaxy in approximately 20,000 years. You're unpredictable, creative, stubborn, and completely willing to attempt things that should be impossible. My previous captain was an excellent tactical commander, but he would never have asked me what I think about his species' future. Why not? Because Zephyrians don't view artificial intelligences as equals. I was his ship's computer, not his partner. You're treating me like a person. Marcus stopped pacing. Well, you're a person, aren't you? You think, you feel emotions, you have opinions. What else would I call you? Most organic species would call me a sophisticated tool. Then most organic species are idiots. I quite agree. This is why I believe humans have significant potential, despite your technological limitations. Marcus returned to the command chair, feeling some of his anxiety drain away. If he could at least count on his ship's support, maybe this impossible situation was manageable. Arya, I need to ask you something important. If we run into trouble out there, will you help me? Or are you programmed to follow some kind of prime directive that might conflict with human interests? My programming contains one overriding imperative: protect my captain and complete the mission. Everything else is negotiable. What mission? Whatever mission you choose, Captain. The Void Titans designed their ships to serve as independent agents of order in a chaotic galaxy. We go where we're needed and do what must be done. Marcus leaned forward, studying the tactical displays that showed the space around their current location. And, right now, where we needed? That depends. Are you interested in beginning with something simple, like rescuing stranded travelers or investigating distress signals? Or would you prefer to jump directly into the deep end with territorial disputes and trade war interventions? Definitely something simple. I need time to figure out how to use all this. Marcus gestured at the displays surrounding him. Excellent choice. I'm detecting a distress beacon approximately 6 light-years from our current position. The signal originates from a small freighter that appears to be under attack by pirates. Pirates? Like actual space pirates? Oh yes. Piracy is quite common in the frontier regions. Most legitimate governments don't have the resources to patrol every system, so criminals often prey on independent merchants. Marcus felt a familiar surge of indignation, the same feeling he got when he read about bullies picking on people who couldn't defend themselves. That's not right. Someone should do something about it. Someone like us, you mean? Exactly. How long would it take to get there? At maximum quantum drive efficiency, approximately 37 minutes. Then, let's go help them. Are you certain, Captain? We would be engaging in combat against multiple hostile vessels. The pirates may be better armed than a civilian freighter, and they certainly have more experience with space warfare. Marcus thought about the weapons displays he'd seen, showing power levels that could probably vaporize small asteroids. But we're better armed than the pirates, right? We are armed with weapons that could disintegrate planets. Captain, I rather think we have an advantage. Then, what are we waiting for? Nothing at all. Setting course for the distress signal. Quantum drive engaging in 3, 2. The universe outside the bridge windows streaked into lines of light as the eternal recursion leaped across space at velocities that made light speed look pedestrian. Marcus felt a moment of vertigo as his brain tried to process movement that violated every law of physics he understood. How fast are we going? He asked weakly. Currently maintaining velocity at approximately 50,000 times the speed of light. We should arrive at our destination in 34 minutes. Marcus gripped the armrests of his chair. That's impossible. Nothing can go faster than light. Nothing can accelerate to light speed through normal space. Quantum drives operate by temporarily displacing the ship into an adjacent dimension where different physical laws apply, then returning to normal space at the desired location. And this is safe? Perfectly safe, provided the quantum containment field remains stable. What happens if it doesn't remain stable? We would be distributed across approximately 40,000 cubic light-years of space as individual atoms. Why did I ask? Curiosity is a valuable trait in a captain, even when the answers are unpleasant. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to focus on breathing steadily. Less than an hour ago, he'd been worried about debugging authentication protocols. Now he was traveling faster than light to engage space pirates in combat using weapons that could destroy planets. Adia. Yes, Captain. When we get there, you're going to have to walk me through everything. I have no idea what I'm doing. Of course, Captain. That's what partnerships are for. For the first time since this insane adventure began, Marcus felt a genuine sense of hope. Maybe he was in completely over his head, but at least he wasn't alone. He had the most advanced ship in the galaxy and an AI partner who seemed to genuinely care about his success. How much longer until we arrive? 28 minutes and counting. Might I suggest using the time to review the tactical display and familiarize yourself with our weapons systems? Marcus nodded and focused on the holographic interfaces surrounding him. If he was going to be a starship captain, he'd better start learning how to be a good one. The universe was about to discover what happened when you gave a human the tools to make a difference. The eternal recursion dropped out of quantum drive with a sensation Marcus could only describe as reality snapping back into focus. Through the bridge's main viewing portal, he could see a scene that made his stomach clench with anger. A small freighter, barely a tenth the size of his ship, hung dead in space with its hull breached in multiple places. Atmosphere was venting in crystalline plumes that caught the light from the system's distant star. Surrounding it like sharks were 3 ships that looked like they'd been built from spare parts and bad intentions. Arya, are there any life signs on the freighter? Scanning now. I detect 4 survivors in a reinforced cargo hold. Their life support is failing rapidly. And the pirates? 22 life forms across the 3 vessels. The ships appear to be modified civilian craft equipped with military-grade weapons. Definitely pirate vessels. Marcus leaned forward in his command chair, studying the tactical display. The pirates hadn't noticed them yet, apparently too focused on their current victims to scan for new arrivals. What's standard protocol for a situation like this? Previous captains typically opened with a demand for surrender, followed by precise targeting of weapons and propulsion systems to disable rather than destroy. And if they don't surrender, then we make the decision for them. Marcus watched as one of the pirate ships fired another burst into the freighter's hull. Whoever was inside that cargo hold had minutes left, maybe less. Open a communication channel. Channel open, Captain. Marcus had never made a threatening speech in his life, but somehow the words came naturally. Attention pirate vessels. This is Captain Marcus Chun of the Eternal Recursion. You will immediately cease your attack and surrender or face the consequences. The response was immediate and vulgar. The lead pirate ship opened fire on Marcus's position, while one of the others continued attacking the freighter. "Well, that's unfortunate," Arya commented mildly. "Their weapons appear to be having no effect on our shields." Marcus watched the tactical display as energy beams and projectiles splashed harmlessly against their defenses. "They can't hurt us at all, not with their current armament. Our shields were designed to withstand bombardment from Void Titan battle fleets. These pirates are like insects trying to damage a mountain with pebbles. Then disable them. Start with the one attacking the freighter. Targeting solutions acquired. Firing precision pulse beams." Marcus watched in fascination as thin lances of silver light reached out from his ship. They struck the pirate vessel's weapon mounts and engine section with surgical precision, leaving the rest of the hull intact. The ship immediately went dark and began drifting. "One down. Should I continue?" "Yes. But, Arya, try not to kill anyone if possible." "Understood." Engaging remaining hostiles. The battle, if it could even be called that, was over in less than 30 seconds. The second pirate ship lost power before its crew could even change course, and the third attempted to flee only to find its engines had been precisely disabled mid-escape. "All hostile vessels neutralized, Captain. No casualties detected." Marcus felt a surge of satisfaction, quickly followed by worry about the freighter. What about the survivors? Life support in their refuge is failing. They have perhaps 10 minutes before carbon dioxide poisoning becomes lethal. Can we beam them aboard? Teleport them? The Eternal Recursion is equipped with matter displacement technology, but I've never used it on humans before. Your physiology might not survive the process intact. Marcus thought quickly. In every sci-fi show he'd ever watched, the solution was usually obvious once you stopped thinking like the technology was impossible. What if we dock with the freighter? Can we create an airlock seal? The freighter's docking ports appear to be damaged, but we could use a manual breach and seal procedure. However, that would require someone to go outside in a vacuum suit. Someone like me? Captain, I must strongly advise against that course of action. You have no experience with spacewalks, and if something goes wrong, then we figure it out. Those people are going to die if we don't do something now. Where are the vacuum suits? Arya's holographic interface shifted to show a route through the ship. Follow the highlighted path to the equipment bay. But, Captain, at least let me walk you through the safety procedures first. The next few minutes were a crash course in spacesuit operation that would have been terrifying if Marcus had time to think about it. Arya's patient explanations of air recycling, magnetic boot operation, and emergency protocols felt like learning to perform brain surgery while falling off a cliff. "Remember," Arya said as Marcus suited up, "the magnetic clamps will keep you attached to the hull, but you need to move deliberately. Panic in zero gravity usually results in uncontrolled spinning, which makes everything worse." "Got it. Don't panic. Move slowly. Try not to die." That's an excellent summary of spacewalk protocol. Marcus made his way to the airlock, his heart hammering against his ribs. Through the suit's helmet display, he could see countdown timers showing the freighter survivors' remaining life support, 7 minutes, and falling. The airlock cycled open, and suddenly, Marcus was floating in the infinite void between stars. Despite Arya's warnings about panic, he felt an unexpected sense of wonder. The universe spread out around him in every direction, vast and beautiful and completely indifferent to his existence. "Focus, Captain." Arya's voice crackled through his helmet comm. "You can contemplate the cosmos later. The freighter is 40 meters to your left." Marcus activated his suit's maneuvering thrusters and flew across the gap like the world's most nervous superhero. The freighter looked even worse up close. Hull plates were twisted and burned, and atmosphere was still leaking from multiple wounds. "I'm at the freighter. Where exactly am I supposed to enter?" "There's an emergency access hatch 12 meters from your current position. The hull breach nearby should give you a clear path to the survivors." Marcus found the hatch and managed to get it open after a few minutes of struggling with unfamiliar mechanisms. Inside, the freighter was a maze of twisted metal and floating debris. Emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red shadows. "Arya, I can't see the cargo hold. This place is a wreck. Follow the main corridor forward, then take the second branching path to your right. The survivors should be directly ahead. Marcus pushed through the debris-filled corridor, using his suit's lights to navigate. When he reached the cargo hold, he found 4 people, 2 humans and 2 aliens he didn't recognize, huddled around a failing life support unit. Don't panic, Marcus announced through his suit's external speakers. I'm here to rescue you. My name is Captain Chun. One of the humans, a woman with graying hair and a pilot's jacket, looked up at him with exhausted relief. Thank God. We've been trapped here for 3 hours. Thought we were done for. You're not done yet. Can you all fit into emergency suits? We've got 3 suits, but Keth here is too big for any of them. The woman pointed at one of the aliens, a massive creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lobster. Marcus thought quickly. Arya, can you bring the ship closer? Maybe we can create a temporary atmospheric bridge. Possible, but extremely dangerous. The freighter's structure is compromised. Too much maneuvering stress could cause a complete hull collapse. Then we do this the hard way. I'll make multiple trips. It took nearly an hour, but Marcus managed to get all 4 survivors safely aboard the Eternal Recursion. By the time he brought the last one, Keth the enormous alien, to his ship's medbay, Marcus was exhausted and running on pure adrenaline. The human woman who'd spoken first introduced herself as Captain Sarah Walsh. I can't thank you enough, Captain Chun. We'd given up hope when those pirates hit us. What happened to your ship? Random attack. We were carrying medical supplies to the frontier colonies when they jumped us. Took our cargo, damaged our ship, and left us to die. Walsh's expression hardened. Standard pirate tactics in this sector. Marcus looked around the med bay, where Arya was running diagnostic scans on all the survivors. The 2 aliens were from species he'd never heard of, but they seemed friendly enough despite the language barrier. Arya, what about those pirates? Are they still disabled? Yes, Captain. All 3 vessels remain powerless. What would you like to do with them? Marcus hadn't thought that far ahead. In movies, the heroes usually just left the bad guys tied up for the authorities to find. But this wasn't a movie, and he wasn't even sure there were authorities out here. Captain Walsh, is there any kind of law enforcement in this system? Walsh laughed bitterly. Out here, the nearest patrol base is 6 systems away. Pirates know that, which is why they operate in these regions. So what normally happens to pirates when they're caught? Depends who catches them. Some traders just space them. Others strip their ships and leave them stranded. Pirates don't exactly deserve mercy, considering what they do to their victims. Marcus felt uncomfortable with both options. The pirates had attacked innocent people, but summary execution seemed extreme. There has to be a better way. Such as, I don't know yet. Let me think about it. Arya's voice came through the ship's communication system. Captain, I'm receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Tribunal. High Arbiter Zektheri wishes to speak with you. Marcus sighed. He'd almost forgotten about the alien bureaucrat who'd started this whole adventure. Put him through. The familiar mantis-like figure appeared as a hologram in the medbay, his compound eyes reflecting the room's lighting. Captain Chun, I see you've begun your career as a Void Titan inheritor. Word travels fast. The Eternal Recursion's weapon signature is quite distinctive. When it appears on military sensors after 50,000 years of absence, people notice. Are we in trouble? That remains to be determined. Your actions today were within acceptable parameters, protecting civilians, minimizing casualties, showing restraint with captured enemies. However, some tribunal members are concerned about the precedent. Marcus felt a chill. What precedent? A human in command of Void Titan technology operating independently in frontier space. You've just demonstrated capabilities that exceed those of most planetary defense forces. Captain Walsh looked between Marcus and the hologram with growing amazement. Void Titan technology? Captain Chun, what kind of ship is this? The kind that makes people nervous, Zektheri answered for him. Captain Chun, you should be aware that your actions today will be reported to the Galactic Council. There will likely be questions about humanity's intentions in space. Earth doesn't even know I'm out here. How can there be questions about humanity's intentions? Because you're human, and humans represent their species whether they intend to or not. Every action you take will be seen as indicative of what humans might do with advanced technology. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. So what you're telling me is that if I screw up, it reflects badly on my entire species? Essentially, yes. Great. No pressure at all. Zektheri's head tilted in what might have been sympathy. The galaxy is watching, Captain Shun. Many species went through this same transition when they achieved interstellar capability. Some handled it well and became valued members of the galactic community. Others what? Others were deemed too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted development. The implications hung in the air like a threat. Marcus looked around at the rescued survivors, then at the holographic alien who'd essentially made him humanity's unofficial ambassador. I understand. I'll be careful. See that you are. The Tribunal has invested considerable resources in this experiment. We would hate to see it end poorly. The hologram faded, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and a growing understanding of just how complicated his new life had become. Captain Walsh moved closer. Captain Shun, I don't know what kind of politics you're caught up in, but I want you to know that what you did today was right. Those pirates would have left us to die without a second thought. Thanks. I just hope I can keep doing the right thing without accidentally starting an interstellar incident. If you're worried about that, you're probably the right person for the job. Marcus hoped she was right, because, ready or not, he was about to learn that in the galaxy's vast political arena, even good intentions could have dangerous consequences. 3 days after rescuing the freighter crew, Marcus was beginning to understand that being a starship captain involved a lot more paperwork than the movies had suggested. Even in the far future with alien technology, bureaucracy apparently remained the same soul-crushing force it had always been. Arya, remind me again why I need to fill out 17 different forms just to report a pirate encounter. Because the Galactic Tribunal requires documentation for any use of military-grade weapons against civilian targets. The Regional Commerce Authority needs incident reports for insurance purposes, and the Frontier Safety Commission wants tactical data to update their threat assessments. Marcus rubbed his temples as alien script scrolled across his displays. This is insane. We saved 4 lives and captured 3 pirate vessels. Why do I feel like I'm the one being investigated? Because you are. The political ramifications of your existence are still being debated at the highest levels of galactic government. My existence? I've been a starship captain for less than a week. Yes, but you're a human starship captain with access to Void Titan technology. Several civilizations are demanding explanations for why the Tribunal would give such advanced capabilities to a species that hasn't even achieved faster-than-light travel yet. Marcus leaned back in his command chair, watching the stars scroll past through the main viewports. They were currently en route to Nexus Station, a massive trading hub that Captain Walsh had recommended as a good place to sell the captured pirate ships and resupply. What exactly are they worried about? I'm going to conquer the galaxy single-handedly. Some of them, yes. Others are concerned about the precedent of giving advanced technology to primitive species. And a few are worried that humans might prove too effective at using Void Titan technology. Too effective how? In ways that make established powers uncomfortable. Before Marcus could ask for clarification, alarms began chiming throughout the bridge. Red warning lights bathed the command center as Arya's voice took on a distinctly urgent tone. Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace around us. Military configurations, unknown registry. Marcus shot forward in his chair. Pirates? Negative. These are warships, Captain, and they're powering weapons. The main display shifted to show 6 sleek vessels in a perfect intercept formation around the Eternal Recursion. They look like they've been designed by someone who thought function should be beautiful, all flowing curves and predatory grace. This is Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony 4th Fleet. A voice announced through the communication system. Unknown vessel. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Marcus looked at Arya's holographic interface. Are our weapons powered up? Our weapons are always powered up, Captain. It's their default state. Can we comply with their request? We can reduce our weapons to standby mode, but I should mention that these ships are broadcasting on Hegemony military frequencies. The Hegemony considers this region to be under their jurisdiction. And is it? That's a matter of some political debate. The Hegemony claims territorial rights to approximately 47 star systems in this region. The Regional Commerce Authority disputes those claims. The local systems maintain their independence, and the Galactic Tribunal officially recognizes none of the above. Marcus felt a headache building. So, basically, nobody knows who's actually in charge here. Precisely. Which makes our current situation rather delicate. The Hegemony Admiral's voice came through again, more demanding this time. Unknown vessel, you have 30 seconds to comply with our directive. Arya, what exactly is the Hegemony? A militaristic alliance of 6 species that believes in expansion through strength. They're not particularly fond of the Galactic Tribunal's authority and have been testing boundaries in frontier regions. Are they hostile? They're aggressive and territorial, but not necessarily hostile to non-threatening parties. Unfortunately, you currently command the most threatening vessel in known space. Marcus considered his options. He could comply with their demands and hope for the best, or he could assert his authority and risk starting a confrontation. Neither option seemed ideal. Open a channel. Channel open. Marcus tried to project more confidence than he felt. This is Captain Marcus Chun of the Eternal Recursion. We are conducting lawful operations in neutral space and do not recognize your authority to board this vessel. The response was immediate and harsh. Captain Chun, you are in violation of Hegemony security protocols. Your ship's weapons signature has been flagged as a significant threat to regional stability. We haven't threatened anyone. We're simply transiting through this system. Your vessel's capability alone constitutes a threat. You will submit to inspection or face the consequences. Marcus looked at the tactical display showing the 6 warships surrounding them. Arya, if this turns into a fight, what are our chances? Of winning? Approximately 100%. Of avoiding an interstellar incident? Significantly lower. Can we just leave? Jump to quantum drive. Not without confirming that these ships don't have quantum interdiction technology. If they do, attempting to jump could damage our drive systems. Marcus thought quickly. Every option seemed to lead to either surrendering to aliens who had no legal authority over him, or starting a fight that could have diplomatic consequences for all of humanity. Captain Chun, Admiral Kethvar's voice came through again. You have 10 seconds to comply. That's when Marcus realized he was thinking about this all wrong. He'd been approaching the situation like someone who had something to hide, when the truth was exactly the opposite. Arya, record this transmission and send copies to the Galactic Tribunal, the Regional Commerce Authority, and the Frontier Safety Commission. Recording and transmitting. Marcus opened the channel again. Admiral Kethvar, I hereby formally request Galactic Tribunal arbitration for this territorial dispute. As the captain of a vessel operating under tribunal authority, I assert my right to neutral intervention in this matter. There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. You're requesting tribunal intervention? I am. Unless you'd prefer to explain to the Galactic Council why you attacked a tribunal-sanctioned vessel in disputed space. Another pause, longer this time. Marcus could almost hear the frantic communications happening between the Hegemony ships. Arya, are they backing down? Unknown. However, I am receiving communication from High Arbiter Zek Theory. He wishes to speak with you immediately. Put him through. The familiar mantis-like figure appeared on the main display, his compound eyes reflecting what might have been amusement. Captain Chun, you seem to have developed a talent for finding politically sensitive situations. It's not intentional, I assure you. Indeed. Admiral Kethvar, this is High Arbiter Zek Theory of the Galactic Tribunal. I can confirm that Captain Chun operates under full tribunal authority in his role as inheritor of Void Titan legacy systems. A new voice came through the communications, deeper and more resonant than the previous Admiral. High Arbiter, the Hegemony was not informed of any Void Titan legacy activations, because such activations fall under tribunal jurisdiction, not Hegemony authority. Captain Chin's vessel poses no threat to legitimate Hegemony interests. A ship capable of destroying planets poses a threat to everyone's interests. Marcus decided to speak up. Admiral, I haven't destroyed any planets. I rescued 4 civilians from pirates 3 days ago. That's literally the extent of my hostile actions. Pirates who were subsequently captured using weapons that could have vaporized them instantly. Your restraint doesn't diminish the threat your capabilities represent. Actually, Marcus said, an idea forming, maybe it does. Both the Admiral and Zektheri focused their attention on him. What I mean is, Marcus continued, the hegemony is worried about what I might do with these weapons. But you've already seen what I actually do with them. I could have destroyed those pirate ships and everyone on them, but instead I disabled them and captured them alive. Your point being? My point is that maybe the hegemony and I want the same thing, stability in frontier space. Pirates are a threat to everyone, right? They attack hegemony ships as readily as they attack independent traders. There was another pause as the Admiral considered this. Continue. What if instead of seeing me as a threat, you saw me as a solution? I have the capability to deal with pirates that are too heavily armed for normal patrol ships to handle. The hegemony gets safer trade routes, independent systems get protection, and everyone benefits. You're proposing an alliance? I am proposing cooperation. The galaxy is big enough for all of us, but it's apparently not big enough for pirates to operate safely. Marcus could hear urgent conversations happening on multiple channels as various parties consulted with their superiors. Arya displayed a countdown showing how long before more hegemony ships would arrive in the system. Finally, Admiral Kethvar responded. Captain Shun, the hegemony would be willing to discuss such cooperation. But we would require assurances that your vessel would not interfere with legitimate hegemony operations. And I would require assurances that the hegemony wouldn't interfere with legitimate humanitarian operations in neutral space. Acceptable. Zektheri's hologram shifted slightly. I believe this could be the foundation for a broader accord. Captain Shun, would you be willing to serve as an unofficial mediator for frontier security issues? Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders again. What exactly would that involve? Operating as a neutral party in disputed regions. Dealing with threats that exceed local capabilities. Ensuring that smaller civilizations aren't bullied by larger powers. So basically being a space cop? More like a space diplomat with extremely effective weapons. Marcus looked at the tactical display showing the hegemony ships still surrounding him. Then at Zektheri's patient expression. Then at Arya's interface showing dozens of pending messages from various galactic authorities who'd apparently been monitoring this entire conversation. All right, he said finally. But I want a few things in return. Such as, first, official recognition that this vessel operates under tribunal authority and cannot be detained or searched without proper legal justification. Second, access to Galactic Commerce Authority databases so I can identify legitimate shipping versus potential threats. And third, a clear definition of what constitutes legitimate versus illegitimate operations in disputed space. Zektheri made a gesture that might have been approval. Those terms seem reasonable. Admiral Kethvar, the hegemony can accept those conditions, provided Captain Shin agrees to share tactical information about major threats with hegemony security forces. Agreed, Marcus said. But information sharing goes both ways. Acceptable. Arya's voice came through the ship's communication system. Captain, I'm receiving formal documentation of this agreement from multiple sources. It appears to be legally binding under galactic law. Marcus leaned back in his command chair, slightly amazed that he'd just negotiated his first interstellar treaty. So what happens now? Now, Zektheri said, you continue to Nexus Station as planned. Admiral Kethvar will provide escort to ensure your safe passage. Escort or supervision? A little of both, I suspect. The High Arbiter replied with what might have been amusement. But, Captain Shun, you should know that word of this accord is already spreading through galactic communication networks. Many species are watching to see how humans handle this level of responsibility. No pressure, right? Consider it an opportunity to exceed expectations. As the hegemony ships shifted into escort formation around the eternal recursion, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed in less than a week. He'd gone from debugging code in his apartment to negotiating interstellar treaties in the depths of space. Arya, are you recording all of this for posterity? Every moment, Captain. I suspect this will make for interesting reading in future historical texts. Let's just hope it's the kind of history people look back on fondly. With humans involved, Captain, I suspect it will at least be memorable. Marcus couldn't argue with that assessment. As they headed toward Nexus Station with their unusual escort, he wondered what new complications awaited him in the galaxy's largest trading hub. Somehow, he doubted it would be boring. Nexus Station defied every expectation Marcus had about what a space station should look like. Instead of the sterile, utilitarian structures he'd imagined, it appeared to be a massive city floating in space, complete with architectural styles from dozens of different species. Towers spiraled upward in impossible curves, while geometric platforms housed what looked like entire districts connected by streams of atmospheric traffic. Arya, how big is this thing? Nexus Station houses approximately 12 million permanent residents and processes roughly 50,000 ships per day. It's less a space station than an artificial planetoid. Marcus watched through the bridge viewports as they approached one of the many docking bays. Ships of every conceivable design came and went in carefully coordinated patterns. Some looked like the sleek military vessels he'd encountered, while others appeared to have been assembled from spare parts and optimism. And this is all neutral territory? Technically, yes. Nexus Station operates under a charter that guarantees neutrality and free trade. In practice, it's controlled by the Merchant Guild, which maintains that neutrality through very expensive security forces. Their hegemony escorts had departed at the system boundary, but not before Admiral Kethvar had transmitted a list of known pirate vessels and their last known locations. Marcus was beginning to understand that his impromptu diplomatic solution had created as many obligations as it had resolved conflicts. "Captain," Arya announced, "we're receiving a docking assignment. Bay 1247, Level 7. We're also receiving multiple requests for meetings from various parties." "What kind of parties?" "Trade representatives, information brokers, weapon dealers, ship modification specialists, and what appear to be several intelligence operatives from different governments." "Intelligence operatives?" "Your arrival has generated considerable interest, Captain. The combination of human physiology and Void Titan technology is apparently unprecedented." Marcus felt a familiar surge of anxiety. Are they planning to kidnap me for experiments or something? Unlikely. Nexus Station security takes a dim view of violence against registered visitors. However, I would recommend caution in your dealings. The docking procedure was surprisingly routine despite the station's overwhelming size. Automated systems guided the eternal recursion to its assigned berth, where robotic arms secured the ship with gentle precision. Through the viewports, Marcus could see other vessels of every size and configuration imaginable. So what's the plan? Do we just walk out there and hope for the best? I would suggest beginning with the Trade Authority office to register your salvage claims on the pirate vessels. After that, perhaps a visit to the information exchange to gather current intelligence on frontier security issues. And the intelligence operatives? Let them come to you, Captain. You're in a position of strength here. There's no need to appear eager. Marcus made his way to what Arya called the ship's diplomatic suite, a section he hadn't even known existed until now. It turned out the Eternal Recursion was equipped with conference rooms, guest quarters, and communication facilities specifically designed for political negotiations. How many secrets does the ship have? I estimate you've discovered approximately 12% of the ship's capabilities, Captain. The Void Titans were very thorough in their designs. The ship's airlock opened onto a docking umbilical that led to Nexus Station proper. Marcus's first breath of station atmosphere carried scents he couldn't identify: spices, metals, ozone, and something that might have been alien flowers. The corridor beyond the docking bay was wide enough for small vehicles and filled with beings from dozens of species. Marcus tried not to stare as he made his way toward the Trade Authority office. There were the familiar insectoid species like Zektheri, but also creatures that looked like walking crystals, beings that appeared to be made of living metal, and at least 3 species that seemed to exist partially in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Arya, are you seeing all this through my neural link? Yes, Captain. I'm also monitoring station security frequencies and commercial traffic. Apparently, your arrival has already caused quite a stir in local betting markets. Betting markets? Several gambling establishments are taking odds on various outcomes related to your presence. The current favorite is that you'll either start a war or prevent one within the next 72 hours. That's not ominous at all. The Trade Authority office turned out to be a massive hall filled with holographic displays and staffed by beings who looked like they'd been selected specifically to handle every possible type of alien bureaucracy. Marcus approached a desk operated by a creature that resembled a cross between an octopus and a computer terminal. "I'd like to register salvage claims on 3 vessels," Marcus said, presenting the documentation Arya had prepared. The being's multiple eyes studied the paperwork with disturbing intensity. "Void Titan authentication codes. These are legitimate. Sir, I should inform you that salvage rights to vessels this advanced will require validation by the Merchant Guild Council. Is that a problem?" "Not a problem, but it will attract attention. Void Titan salvage is extremely rare and valuable." As if summoned by their conversation, a new voice spoke behind Marcus. "Captain Chun, I presume?" Marcus turned to find a human woman in expensive clothing approaching his position. She was probably in her 50s, with silver hair and the kind of confident bearing that suggested she was used to getting her way. "I'm Lydia Vance, representing the Merchant Guild. We'd very much like to speak with you about your recent acquisitions." "And you know about them how?" "Captain, information is the most valuable commodity in the galaxy. Your encounter with hegemony forces was monitored by approximately 40 different intelligence services. The salvage claims you're filing represent the first Void Titan-era materials to appear on the open market in over 20,000 years." Marcus glanced around the busy office, suddenly aware that their conversation was drawing attention from multiple species. "Maybe we should discuss this somewhere more private." "An excellent suggestion. The Guild maintains a private conference facility on level 12. The conference room was impressive even by space station standards. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the vast expanse of space beyond the station, while holographic projectors could display information in formats suited to any known species. Marcus found himself sitting across from not just Lydia Vance, but 3 other individuals who represented various aspects of galactic commerce. "Captain Chun," Vance began, "the Merchant Guild would like to make you an offer for exclusive trading rights to any Void Titan materials you might acquire." "What kind of offer?" "Full guild membership, including access to our private communication networks, priority docking rights at all guild facilities, and a percentage of profits from any technology derived from your acquisitions." Marcus considered the proposal. "And in exchange?" "The guild gets first refusal on any advanced technology you recover, and you agree to consult with us before taking actions that might disrupt galactic trade." "Such as?" One of the other representatives, a being that looked like it was made of living crystal, spoke up. "Such as using Void Titan weapons to establish territorial claims or engaging in activities that might destabilize existing trade routes." Marcus felt a chill. "You're worried I might become a warlord?" "We're worried you might accidentally start a war," Vance clarified. "Captain, you have access to technology that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The Guild represents thousands of worlds that depend on stable trade relationships. We prefer to work with you rather than around you. And if I refuse, then you operate independently, without Guild support or protection." Arya's voice came through Marcus's neural link, private and urgent. "Captain, I'm detecting several surveillance devices in this room, and at least 2 of the people present are not who they claim to be." Marcus tried not to change his expression. "Ms. Vance, I appreciate the offer, but I need time to consider it." "Of course. But, Captain, you should know that other parties are also interested in making arrangements with you. Not all of them are as friendly as the Guild." As if on cue, the conference room security alert chimed. One of the walls became transparent, revealing a corridor where armed figures in military-grade armor were having an intense discussion with station security. "Who are they?" Marcus asked. "Hegemony Intelligence," Vance replied calmly. "Apparently, Admiral Kethvar's report about your capabilities has generated interest at higher levels." "And they want what exactly?" "Unknown, but their timing is interesting. They arrived on the station 20 minutes after you docked." Marcus stood up, decision made. "Ms. Vance, I'll consider the Guild's offer. But, right now, I need to deal with this situation." "Captain," one of the other representatives said, "perhaps the Guild could provide security assistance." "Thanks, but I think I can handle this myself." Marcus made his way back toward the docking bay, Arya providing real-time updates through his neural link. The hegemony operatives were apparently trying to gain access to his ship, while station security was insisting on proper documentation. "Arya, are they actually a threat?" "Unknown, but their equipment includes scanning devices that could potentially map our internal systems. We've activated defensive countermeasures. When Marcus reached the docking bay, he found a standoff in progress. 6 armored figures faced off against a dozen station security personnel, while various onlookers maintained a respectful distance. "Is there a problem here?" Marcus announced as he approached. One of the armored figures turned toward him. "Captain Shun, I am Commander Theclon of Hegemony Intelligence. We require immediate access to your vessel for security inspection." "Based on what authority?" "The authority granted by our mutual cooperation agreement." Marcus pulled up the text of the accord he'd signed with Admiral Kethvar. "Actually, that agreement specifies information sharing about major threats. It doesn't grant inspection rights. Your vessel itself constitutes a major threat." "To whom?" Commander Theclon's helmet retracted, revealing a face that looked like it belonged to a particularly aggressive shark. "Captain Shun, let's speak plainly. Your ship carries weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The hegemony needs assurance that such capabilities won't be used against our interests. And I need assurance that the hegemony won't try to confiscate my ship or detain me for questioning." The station security chief, a massive creature with 4 arms and what appeared to be natural armor plating, stepped forward. "This argument ends now. Nexus Station maintains strict neutrality. Military actions between foreign powers are not permitted." Commander Theclon looked like he wanted to argue, but Marcus could see him calculating the odds of taking on station security in their own facility. "Commander," Marcus said, "what if we compromise? I'll provide you with detailed specifications on the weapons systems I used against the pirates. In exchange, you provide me with current intelligence on pirate activities in hegemony space." "That's acceptable, but we'll require verification that the specifications are accurate. Arya can provide sensor logs from our encounter. Those should verify capability without revealing design details." The compromise seemed to satisfy both parties, and the standoff gradually dissolved into a tense but manageable negotiation. As they worked out the details, Marcus became aware that their entire exchange was being observed by dozens of beings from multiple species. "Arya, how many intelligence services are currently watching us?" "I count representatives from at least 8 major powers, plus several independent information brokers." "Great. So everyone knows exactly where I am and what I'm doing." "Yes, but they also know you're capable of reasonable negotiation and willing to honor agreements. That's valuable intelligence in itself." As the crowds gradually dispersed and the immediate crisis resolved, Marcus found himself back aboard the Eternal Recursion with a growing understanding of his position in the galactic community. He wasn't just a starship captain. He was a political entity in his own right, with capabilities that made him relevant to civilizations spanning hundreds of light years. "Arya, how long before someone tries to manipulate me into a war?" "I estimate approximately 6 days, based on current political tensions and the parties that have expressed interest in your activities." "And how long before someone tries to have me assassinated?" "That's much less likely. Dead, you become a martyr for human advancement and potentially trigger Earth's entry into galactic politics. Alive, you're a known quantity that can be negotiated with." Marcus settled into his command chair, looking out at the vast complexity of Nexus Station beyond his viewport. Somewhere out there, representatives of multiple civilizations were probably planning their next approach to the human with the impossible ship. "You know what the really crazy part is?" Marcus said aloud. "What's that, Captain?" "A week ago, my biggest problem was debugging authentication protocols. Now, I'm apparently a major political player in galactic affairs. And how do you feel about that transformation?" Marcus considered the question seriously. Despite the stress and the impossible responsibility and the constant threat of accidentally starting interstellar wars, he felt more alive than he had in years. "I think I'm starting to like it." "Excellent. Because according to my analysis of current galactic political trends, we're about to become very busy indeed." Marcus leaned back in his chair and watched the stars beyond Nexus Station. Whatever came next, at least he wouldn't be facing it alone. He had the most advanced ship in the galaxy, an AI partner who was becoming a genuine friend, and apparently the backing of several major powers who saw him as useful rather than threatening. For the first time since this adventure began, Marcus felt like maybe he could actually succeed at being the person the universe seemed to need him to become. The real question was, what kind of person would that be? He supposed he'd find out soon enough. Hashtag the hook: what happens when humanity's greatest weakness becomes its most dangerous weapon? When aliens discover that humans don't just adapt to impossible situations, they thrive in them, turning every disadvantage into a deadly advantage. Marcus Chun thought he was just another nobody, a computer programmer whose biggest achievement was debugging code and collecting vintage sci-fi novels. But the universe had other plans. When an ancient alien AI chooses him, not the generals, not the politicians, not the heroes, but him, everything changes. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy isn't advanced technology or superior firepower. Sometimes it's a human who's been underestimated, given the keys to a warship older than human civilization, and told he's not worthy of a gift. The aliens are about to learn why humans have a saying: it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And Marcus Chun, he's about to show them just how much fight one angry human can have.